Hey guys, Dan here. About a week ago, I did a post on how to control your blood pressure levels in general and naturally as well, and how I've taken just an endless amount of people off blood pressure medication and controlling their high blood pressure. A lot of people who were on blood pressure medication who their levels were still high and uncontrollable, and how I was able to get them all off the medication and have perfect blood pressure levels. Jumping right into it, I suppose. Um, so how basically, so I have two methods. The way I go about this, if somebody's is really high, I might use supplements to start for the first few days just to get it right in control, and so they're less at risk. And then while we're doing that, we're still on a dietary intervention, and then we continue with the dietary intervention, and you stay on that eating specific nutrients essentially to keep your blood pressure in control. So where I start at with my nutrient or supplement or nutrient dosage recommendations, what I usually like to do is reverse engineer someone's diet. I put it into Chronometer and be like, oh, like you've been eating 20% of your magnesium as example for, this is your diet for the past 3 years. You're severely deficient, so we might want to go to higher dose. But we're never meant to stay on these supplements. Like I talk about in my other videos, you taking an excess amount of a synthetic vitamin, you're at risk of throwing a whole bunch of other nutrients off and then creating a whole bunch of other issues. Example, you take excess magnesium, you can actually deplete calcium, lower sodium. You take an excess of potassium, you can deplete magnesium, potassium, and sodium, and you end up you're trying to balance something, and you end up creating a whole host of new issues essentially, and depleting other nutrients. So that is why I always like to get items from food, because when you get something from food, you are getting the nutrients that might help you prevent from them being depleted. You know what I mean? You're getting a balance, and when you're having a variety of food, you're getting a much better balance, and you're eating an excess of potassium, but you're getting the nutrients needed with it that help also balance that and not deplete each other. Because what's interesting about a lot of micronutrients is that magnesium will aid calcium via its absorption or utilization and so on. But actually, when it's in an extreme excess, it'll actually deplete it, which is funny. So balance is key, definitely for micronutrients. So yeah, that's why food and food variety is of utmost importance. So yeah, jumping right into it. I'm not suggesting this. I'm not suggesting anybody come off meds. I'm not suggesting anybody take these supplements or anything like that. I'm just giving my experience on an endless amount of people I've taken off blood pressure medications and are fully controlled and healthy now. Again, I'm not telling anybody to do it, just explaining my experience. Do not do what I'm saying, essentially. So the main two nutrients are involved with controlling blood pressure. I think I might have said blood sugar a minute ago. It just popped in my head. Hopefully I didn't. Anyways, blood pressure is magnesium and vitamin E. There's a whole host of other nutrients and mechanisms and whatnot involved in controlling your blood pressure, but these are the main two ones that I find 99.999% of the time that is somebody's issue. And these nutrients are lacking in the diet highly, and they're depleted in the diet highly. By example, a Western diet, you're eating a lot of calcium, dairy, and stuff like that, throwing off your magnesium, and then vitamin E. Every single gram of like a seed oil you eat or polyunsaturated fats, it requires a certain amount of vitamin E to utilize every single gram. So you eating any bit of fast food or using seed oils, you are depleting your vitamin E. And if you had to eat those seed oils as, let's say, the seeds, you'd be getting the vitamin E to utilize it. So you're generally most people's diets are depleting these nutrients, and that's why it's also causing an issue of high blood pressure. So jumping right into the dosages, depending on the person, and again, I go with a dietary intervention first, but sometimes it's, like I said, if somebody's really high, we'll start with the subs for a few days, get it in control, and then continue with just dietary. So magnesium, first one, magnesium bisglycinate is my favorite form. About 800 to 2,000 milligrams is usually what I do if somebody's blood pressure blood pressure is really high, and it's just having trouble on the lower doses. I might just jump right to the 2,000 milligrams, and again, it usually only takes about 3 days, and they're perfectly fine. The next item is vitamin E. I like a mixed form of it. A brand like New Roots has all 8 forms. That's a favorite brand of mine for the vitamin E. This one I go between 800 to 2,000 IU as well. Again, it depends on multiple factors. I really prefer to reverse engineer the diet. Sometimes I just jump at the higher range as well. Some of these very, very high. Vitamin E has many benefits as well. As I said, typical Western diet, vitamin E levels get depleted very easily. Vitamin E, think of it as your body's natural aspirin, essentially. This is what helps keep the blood moving or thin, as as we like to use the term for aspirin. And the issue with that is when blood is more prone to clotting or thick, however you want to say it, in the lower chamber of the heart, that is where the blood doesn't sit there, but especially if you have a arrhythmia or stuff like that, or if it's moving slow due to high blood pressure, anytime your blood is where it's pooling like it does in the lower chamber, that is where you are at extreme risk of clotting. So vitamin E is your natural aspirin, and it's much safer to take than aspirin, as it has immense other benefits as well, health, in general health and heart health. So yeah. So generally that for the first few days, if somebody's really high, I'll start with the supplements while doing dietary intervention. But those are the 2 main supplements that I usually only need if I do need them to really kickstart things. The foods where I like to get these items from that I find is very easy for people to be compliant with consuming is sunflower seeds and hemp seeds. I like a mixture of these. And the dosages I suggest of these foods, I tell people, who cares about your diet, whether you're trying to gain weight or lose weight, it doesn't matter. This lasts for like a week, and then you can adjust accordingly. Your health comes first. You know what I mean? You can getting your blood pressure in control, and who cares if you're eating a little bit over maintenance for a week? Like that's not a concern when it comes to your health. So yeah, sunflower seeds and hemp seeds. I like to, if I'm going hard, I like to do about 6 to 8 tablespoons of each of these a day to get somebody's blood pressure in control. Then also I like a potassium rich food. Tomatoes are sometimes a favorite. Depends on if they agree with you and if the histamine doesn't cause any issues with you either. Usually I tell people to eat 3, 4, maybe 5 tomatoes a day to start. You can get the nutrients, the potassium, specifically I'm using this for potassium. You can get it from other foods. I usually like to start at tomatoes. And generally you will eat this for 3 days to a week, and then you can start to swap out foods for the nutrients, the nutrients we're trying to get for other foods, and or lower the amounts and play with the amounts and see. It's really hard to suggest dosages and recommendations because I don't know everybody's diet. You could be getting 20% of your magnesium right now, and I'm overshooting with the seeds, and then who knows where you need to drop your seed amounts to. Could you drop it 50%, 20%, 90%? That's why it's so hard to give general recommendations, and I really hate giving general recommendations. And that's what I'm kind of trying to do in this video, starting at the higher end and telling people you kind of lower it. Like once blood pressure is amazing and it's perfect after 3 days to a week, however long it takes, once it is amazing, then you can start to lower and find out, it's much easier if you're tracking your nutrients to know, okay, I need to make up this much magnesium, vitamin E, potassium, and so on. I'm trying to give a general recommendation here, guys, so hopefully it is helpful. And again, just to say, I'm not recommending you eat any of this, take any of these items. This is just my experience, my own general recommendation from my experience, but not to you guys, to myself. So do not do anything I'm saying. I'm not a doctor. I think that about covers it. And again, there is other nutrients and other factors involving it in high blood pressure, but 99.9999% fixing endless amount of people. These are the nutrients and the things we want to and need to do. as we know, there's this thing called salt sensitivity, and some people's blood pressure raises from excess salt. And the reason this is due to you essentially lacking potassium in the diet, as potassium and sodium is they're kind of yin and yang, whatever you want to call it. So another thing on this, do you need to avoid salt or control salt? Yes and no. If you're not going to eat the adequate amount of potassium in the potassium your body needs, then you're going to have to limit that salt. The other thing is that, and this is why I'm saying that there are a whole host of different nutrients and whatnot involved, because sometimes too low sodium will actually raise blood pressure, because sodium actually lowers aldosterone. So, okay, I didn't explain the aldosterone thing, and maybe I should have semi-explained that. The main mechanism why the blood pressure medications work is, beside the RAS system, it's inhibiting aldosterone. But it's inhibiting aldosterone in an unnatural and into an extreme severity, depending, what drugs, dosage, whatever. Essentially what we're doing, so certain nutrients raise aldosterone and certain ones lower it. Example, potassium will raise aldosterone, calcium will raise aldosterone, magnesium will inhibit it, sodium lowers it as well. Essentially what we're... And this is why balance in micronutrients in food intake matters, because we are essentially creating that perfect profile or ratios of the micronutrients that allows a healthy amount of aldosterone, an example for blood pressure. So that's essentially what we're doing here, and why it's worked literally every single time, and everyone I've ever helped fixed. So yeah, that is essentially what we're doing. And this is with everything, every health issues that I've helped and fixed of people, I always say, look at the root cause. You're trying to, no matter what you're trying to do, let's say high blood pressure, the, doctors are tackling it with, at a higher, more upstream mechanism. And like I talk on hair loss, people, I'm going to add some topicals like minoxidil to help circulation. And it's like, okay, well, maybe you should fix your circulation internally, whatever is causing the poor circulation, versus you trying to target something on a more, like I said, upstream mechanism pathway, whatever. So that is essentially what we're doing here. And that is why it works even better than I've ever seen any blood pressure medication works. And blood pressure medications, depending on which ones, have a whole host of side effects, some more, some less, than others. So yeah, I think I covered that all. Hopefully I covered that all. Hopefully I don't watch this back and be like, oh, I forgot something. Yeah, and as I said, everybody's case is different, not really, slightly different. This like 99.9% is most everyone's issue. I hate generalizing things, but certain things are, moderately generalized. You know what I mean? Like, let's say you have dry skin. There's not too many things that can, well, there is a fair few things that can cause it, but there's more things that are more likely than others. You know what I mean? Like a lack of fat, too low sodium can cause it, too low potassium can cause it. But there's not a million different things, and more things are more likely than others. Rambling here, guys, sorry. Anyways, yeah, hopefully this helps most people. I'm going to try and post the article as well, so people who would rather read, and it's written down. Again, it's on my forums as well on ti.com. Yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, thanks to all my supporters, my followers, my people who support on my website, my forums, my Facebook groups, my YouTube subscribers here, anybody who comments and shares my stuff, and just general appreciation. I appreciate it all, guys. Thanks. And remember, if this has helped you, you enjoy the content, whatever, please share, because that immensely helps me, gain my traction, gain more followers, and just grow in general. So yeah, I really appreciate anyone who shares and follows me very much. So hope this helps, guys. Thanks. Bye.